the top stories of the news. Nigerian Medical Association begins strike in Kogi. Zambia declares curfew in Lusaka slum struck by cholera. United States President Trump postpones fake news awards. In the Middle East, at least 23 people killed in Syrian explosion. Good afternoon and welcome to the World News on Rave 91.7 FM. My name is Damilola Raphael. Now the details. The Nigerian Medical Association in Kogi has resumed strike today over an alleged failure by the state government to meet their demands. The chairman of the association, Dr. Godwin Tijani, said in Lokoja, the state capital, that the inability of the state government to pay doctors full salaries was unacceptable. Besides, Tijani said all the doctors' associations and union dues, as well as members' cooperative society contributions, were not remitted in full, whereas 100% taxes were deducted from their salaries. According to Tijani, some doctors are yet to be paid. In Zambia, the government has declared a curfew in Lusaka township, badly affected by a cholera outbreak that has killed 58 people across the country since September. Health Minister Chitalu Lufia told reporters that the curfew in Kanyama, a densely populated slum of iron-roofed shacks and winding dirt tracks, begins on Sunday and will run from between 800 hours to 600 hours. Reports said the township has a population of 370,000 people. It was gathered that street vending and public gatherings have been banned in Lusaka to prevent the spread of cholera, but the residents of Kanyama have been defying this order in the evenings after soldiers deployed to clean the streets have left. Zambia on Thursday shut 3 of South African retailer ShopRite's Hungry Lion fast food restaurants after their food tested positive for the bacterium that causes cholera. Rohingya rebels attacked an army truck in Myanmar's restive Rakhine state and wounded 5 soldiers. A spokesman for the Arakan Rohingya Salvation Army claimed responsibility for the ambush on Friday. The military added that extremist Bengali terrorists ASA carried out the ambush. A series of attacks on security installations last August ignited an exodus of more than 620,000 Rohingya villagers from Rakhine into neighboring Bangladesh after Myanmar soldiers launched a brutal crackdown. Fleeing Rohingya have reported many stories of mass killings, gang rape, and arson attacks by security forces. Malaysia's long-serving former leader Mahathir Mohamad will run in this year's election as head of an opposition alliance. Reports say the move poses a significant threat to Prime Minister Najib Razak, who is mired in corruption allegations. Mahathir, aged 92, was chosen yesterday to lead the opposition after putting aside a decades-old feud with popular politician Anwar Ibrahim, who is currently jailed on a conviction for sodomy. Anwar's wife, Wan Aziza, will run alongside Mahathir in a bid to be Deputy Prime Minister. Its Secretary General Saifuddin Abdullah said if the opposition alliance wins, it plans to pardon Anwar and install him as Prime Minister. In the United States, President Donald Trump has postponed the announcement of his fake news awards of the year 2017 to Wednesday next week, citing high interest. Trump has reportedly often labeled media coverage critical of his administration as fake news, accusing leading U.S. media of spreading fake news against him during the U.S. presidential election campaign as well as after he became president. In early December, multiple major U.S. news outlets reported that the White House was planning to remove the current head of the State Department as his relationship with Trump was strained. Trump denied it as fake news on Twitter and added that they would work well together. Elsewhere, Vietnam began the trial of 22 executives charged over losses as the state oil firm, including the businessman Germany, accuses Hanoi of kidnapping from a Berlin park. The most serious offenses could carry the death penalty for the executives accused over losses at state oil firm Petro-Vietnam. A widespread crackdown on fraud and mismanagement in the energy and banking sectors has gathered pace since the security establishment gained greater influence in the ruling party last year. Sources disclosed the most senior former executive on trial is Dinh La Thang, who was arrested last month. He is a former Politburo member who was dismissed from his post over the losses at Petro-Vietnam and then stripped of his role as party head of Ho Chi Minh City. From France, French President Emmanuel Macron said China and Europe should work together on Beijing's Belt and Road Initiative. Unveiled in 2013, the Belt and Road project is aimed at connecting China by land and sea to Southeast Asia, Pakistan and Central Asia and beyond to the Middle East, Europe and Africa. It was confirmed at Key pledged $124 billion for the plan at a summit in May, but it has faced suspicion in Western capitals that it is intended more to assert Chinese influence than Beijing's professed desire to spread prosperity. In the Middle East, the former Egyptian Prime Minister Ahmed Shafik has said he would not stand for president in the country's upcoming presidential elections. The 76-year-old had previously announced his plan to run in an exclusive video message to Al Jazeera. Shafik was seen as one of the few people who could potentially challenge President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi in the election scheduled to take place in March. The New York Times quoted one of Shafik's lawyers who asked not to be named as saying that the Egyptian government had forced him to withdraw by threatening to investigate previous charges of corruption against him. Shafik was prime minister for 1 month in 2011 during that year's Arab Spring uprising. Meanwhile, at least 23 people are reportedly dead and many more injured after a large explosion in the rebel-held city of Idlib in northwestern Syria. The UK-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said the blast struck the headquarters of a minor rebel faction, killing 7 civilians. It isn't clear what caused the blast in the city's Salatin district, but the observatory, which monitors Syria's civil war through a network of sources, said rescue teams were working to recover the dead and wounded from the damaged building and nearby houses. There are fears of an environmental disaster in the East China Sea as a tanker continues to leak oil 2 days after colliding with a cargo ship. Chinese officials have told reporters the Sanchi is in danger of exploding and sinking. The Transportation Ministry has said rescuers attempting to reach the site were being beaten back by toxic clouds. The crew, 30 Iranians and 2 Bangladeshis, remain missing despite international rescue efforts.
And now for business news.
Talking business now, electricity generation from the nation's hydropower plants has recorded significant improvements, offsetting the losses caused by last week's pipeline fire that left 6 gas-fired power plants, including Egbe in Lagos, shut down. According to the latest data obtained from the Ministry of Power, Works and Housing, the number of power plants idle on Friday was 14 out of 28. Last Tuesday night, the nation's power grid suffered a total collapse caused by the fire incident on the Escravos Lagos pipeline system, which supplies gas to some power plants and feeds the West Africa gas pipeline system. The nation generates most of its electricity from gas-fired power plants, while output from hydropower plants makes up about 30% of the total generation. Total electricity generation, which stood at 3,573.1 megawatts as of 6 a.m. on Monday, January 1, fell slightly to 3,539.1 megawatts on Tuesday and 3,517.5 megawatts on Wednesday, the morning after the grid collapse.
This is Spotlight.
Welcome to sports. Arsene Wenger lost an FA Cup third-round tie for the first time as holders Arsenal was stunned 4-2 by Nottingham Forest yesterday. The likes of Alexis Sanchez, Mesut Ozil and Alexander Lacazette were all arrested as Theo Walcott and Danny Welbeck were afforded rare starts in an unfamiliar Arsenal 6. But Wenger's plan backfired against the Forest side, who was still without a permanent manager following the sacking of Mark Warburton last month. Results represent Arsenal's first third-round defeat since the loss in the replay to Sheffield United 8 months prior to Wenger's appointment in 1996. Go-Round Football Club defeated Crown United FC 4-2 via a penalty kicks shootout to reach the final match of the 2016-2017 Nigerian National League Super 4 competition yesterday. The opening game of the competition being played at the Agege Stadium in Lagos had ended in the barren draw. The competition, which is for the top two clubs in the 2016-2017 NNL's two conferences, is a knockout event, and the match's winner was decided on penalty kicks. The Ilorin-based Crown United lost 2 penalty kicks, while Go Round FC, who are from Port Harcourt, scored 4 of their kicks. In basketball, Nigeria has been grouped alongside Australia, New Zealand and Canada in the basketball event of the 11th Commonwealth Games Gold Coast 2018. Despite being ranked number 1 in Africa and 32nd in the world, Nigeria is still the lowest ranking team in their group. Host Australia, who finished 4th at the 2016 Rio Olympic Games, is ranked 10th in the world. Set to make their debut at the Commonwealth, Canada is ranked